Hello, in this presentation I just want to give some thoughts on the new schedule that is being proposed for the accounting program. First, I just want to say I like it. I like that we're looking at the accounting program and looking at the frame of it. I think that could help us to build faster, build better classes, and build classes that can sustain more students throughout the program. So I think it's a good thing to do. A couple topics I just want to look at that may be of interest, may or may not, are going to include discuss ordering of the classes, want to look at discuss strategies for building our own material and curriculum if that's a area that we are looking at, discuss materials per class, discuss optimizing prerequisites between associate and bachelor's program. So first, here's the order of the classes, and I just took the current structure of the classes that we've recently moved to, put this list of classes in there in the same format generally that we have now. The idea being that the idea that we currently have, and I think is a good one, is that we have basically one accounting class represented by the green classes here and one non-accounting class represented by the non-green class in every mod, including mod 1. I think that's a good strategy. I just think that's a good strategy to keep going on and move forward with. It might look something like this, may not line up the same way, but if we have a similar type of strategy on that, I think that would be good because it allows us to, one, not overwhelm students with too much accounting. Even someone like myself, I'd rather have one non-accounting class and an accounting class. Also allows us to maximize the prerequisites in this tiered fashion, meaning we have this accounting class before this accounting class before these accounting classes, which is something that's always something we need to look at when we do the accounting classes. I don't see any prerequisite problems if we did something like this in the certificate program, which would be good. For the associate program and the bachelor's program, again, I just put them in there in a fashion that I'm assuming is what we're thinking of in terms of lining up the courses. And that would be one accounting class and one non-accounting class through the associate and through the bachelor. I'm assuming that we do not have a tiered system on the associate and the bachelor, but we have like one tiered system. And if that is the case, then we might want to think about the prerequisite issues and see if there's any between these, because of course these classes could be taught in any order. So one area might be between these two. I think these two might use the same book. I'll discuss the types of books that will be used if we want to look at that further. These two, and I'm not overly concerned depending on the chapters, that I think the chapters can be taught in reverse order, but it's an area that we might want to look at. These two, I'm not sure what we're going to teach here, but we have a 1 and a 2, so if we use the same book, could be an issue. Might want to think about that a bit more. And these two, auditing 1 and auditing 2, we're probably going to use the same book if it's auditing 1 and auditing 2, and we might have a prereq issue there. I'm going to give a proposal on shifting between the associate and the bachelor's later that might solve this particular problem. So I'll put that in later. Reverse strategy for building curriculum. Again, I really like the idea of building curriculum, and I'd like to be involved in that if we're trying to build our own curriculum. I think we might want to reverse the strategy, and there's pros and cons to either way, but I just want to present this, and if you have any questions on this, if this is an area of concern, we could look at it later. But the current strategy, it seems to me that we are working on building curriculum for the associate and bachelor's programs here, and we're relying heavily on outside resources for the certificate program classes up here. I would think that if we could do these really well, that we could reverse the strategy, and it would give us a lot more bang for the buck. It would be a lot more value in our time if we were able to do these really well for a few reasons. One, these classes up here are already well structured. We've used the textbooks, we've used the information. We as instructors have seen them many times. Therefore, we know the structure, and we can rely on the book that we've already used to outline the classes. And I really think the book is a better outline than the syllabi, really. I mean, I like the syllabi, it gives a good outline, but even when we go bookless, it'd be nice if we can kind of base our information on the outline of the book, which we could kind of do with these, because we almost memorized the books on these two classes at this point. So for that reason, it would be easier for us to do these two. It's also stuff that us as instructors have known more on these. These classes down here tend to be specialty type classes where most of the instructors can do these and are qualified to teach those, but they're areas where a crutch such as a book and Connect would be very helpful, whereas these most instructors probably know more by heart, therefore we can probably build them faster. Now, I would not want to build these classes and not have them ready, meaning I would want to have multiple variations of problems, have an algorithmic problem. We would want to have multiple variations of test banks, before we implement it. I would not want to implement before that. We would want to have everything ready as much as possible for these two, because these two are taught every mod. And so these are the most important two classes, and these are the most important classes within the accounting program. But if we did it really well and we were able to put these classes in, it would be the biggest bang for the dollar, be our time most well spent. Because like if we were just thinking that we spent like $500 per book, and these classes get taught every mod, and therefore whatever our recruiting is that's what's going to be in there. It's anywhere between 40 and 60 now. I'm assuming we want the recruiting to go up. Therefore, that would be the number of students. This could be the cost per mod then for materials. And we teach these every mod, and so that would be like 10 times a year or so. So this might be like the yearly cost on these items here. So that's why it might be more worth our time to do it, but we'd want to do it really well so we don't hurt retention. So that's just something to think about, as opposed to down here where if we're spending $500 a book per student, we only have like 5 to 10 students, if that, in some of these bachelor classes. As of now, I'm hoping those go up too, but that would be this much per mod, and we only teach them 2 to 3 times a year, and therefore, there's a big difference in the amount of savings per. So I do think it would take a lot of time to make the curriculum for these, but that is something to take a look at if we wanted to. For this particular class, I actually have a lot of resources already, including like a lecture text, problems that could easily be made algorithmic problems through most of the material, video lectures on those already, video lectures of example problems on something like this. So this would be a workbook type problem. Possible to do that for this one as well, although it would take a lot of time before it would be ready to go. It's possible to do that for basically most of these. This one would take a lot of time. The tax possible to do for these. It would take a lot of time to do that, however. The QuickBooks class is actually set up as more of a workbook type class already, in that we don't use Connect for QuickBooks because they don't have a QuickBooks class, which is this one. And we are using it in terms of a workbook type of class. And it's actually our highest performing class this mod. I'm betting that this class will have far outperformed numbers in the format that it's currently in. And that format is that it's a workbook, and we included instructional videos for every problem, example problems for every problem, and Holly Williams made a rubric that tells the students exactly what it's going to be graded on in every problem. So that's similar kind of workbook type fashion, using those types of resources and uploading that information into Moodle and having instructional videos are a strategy that we could use for a lot of these other classes as well. Again, it would take a lot of time to do that, but that might be something worth considering. And then discussion materials per class. So this is our certificate program. These are just the accounting classes in the certificate program. So I just listed the accounting classes in the certificate program as they've been listed there, and tried to guess what book we're going to put in there to try to figure out if there's any prerequisite problems. So for these 3 classes, these are the accounting classes in the certificate program. We would use our main accounting textbook, and if I just divide out the number of chapters through the number of names that it looks like we're going to use this book for, we would be using 4 chapters per class. Our current revised thought was like 5 chapters, so 4 would be even better if that's possible. That would be great. I'm not sure if that's what we're thinking of doing, but that's just something pre-thought on that, just to get us thinking about it. So that would be that book. The payroll class, we have a payroll book that uses Connect. The tax class, we have a book that uses Connect as well. And again, the QuickBooks does not use Connect. It doesn't have a QuickBooks book. But again, the workbook that we're using, we have strong resources for it. We've made a lot of stuff for it, and that's actually our highest performing class. So we're doing well on that one. The associate program, these are the only 2 classes in the associate program. The others, I'm assuming, are fulfilling our general education requirements. And again, we would use our normal textbook, our main textbook, for those 2 classes in there, 4 chapters each, just dividing them evenly amongst the number of classes that have that, indicating that would be the book for it. Note that these using the same book, we might have a prereq issue because we could teach these in reverse order. I'm not overly concerned because I think that it would be possible to teach these chapters before these chapters without too much of a problem, but depending on what chapters we put into these 2, we might have a prerequisite issue. I have a proposal at the end that would adjust these. It might take care of the prereq issue, so I'll take a look at that. As far as the bachelor's program goes, this is our least built area, obviously, And so if we listed out the classes that were listed out in the book, once again, this accounting class here, cost accounting, I'm using our same main textbook with the final chapters in there, which are cost accounting chapters within there. And so we could use that. That would be 5 chapters in here. These two, I'm not sure what these would be. And but I found an advanced accounting book. Now, most of our accounting, the principles are done. A lot of times we go on from this point forward, could be like electives. I know we don't have electives, so I don't know exactly. We could pick from advanced financial. We could pick from tax. We could pick from managerial. So here's a financial book if we wanted to do the advanced financial. Obviously, again, if we use the same book for both of them, we might have a prereq issue between those two, so that's something to think about. But this is a nice book, comes from McGraw-Hill, works in Connect. These are classes where if I was to teach this subject, would really like to have the crutch of a book in this subject a lot more than the fundamental classes, even though I'd like to teach the classes on these, right? Same with this one. This is a book for the tax class. This is a book for the auditing class. Here's a book for the governmental accounting class. Again, we have instructors that are qualified to teach these classes, but these are classes that are more specialized and probably be therefore more appreciative to have added resources and texts such as these, such as Connect. This class, I didn't see a wills and trust class. We may have that in our legal program, which might be why we put it in there. If we don't, we might want to find something that has a textbook, such as, I would love to do another QuickBooks class. To do that, also managerial accounting and finance or other areas that can fill that gap if we wanted to do that for those classes. This is just some ideas that if we had a prerequisite problem, then between basically the yellow classes here and here, here and here, here and here, this is one thing that might, solve that we could think about. This isn't an accounting class, so we might want to move that. If we move that out, like to the bachelor's program, that would give a slot in the certificate program to fill up with an accounting class up in this accounting class tier. And if we did that, that would fill up a slot, free up a slot here. That would solve this prerequisite problem between these two. And then we can move audit here. And if we did that, that would solve this prerequisite problem without having a tier system down here in the bachelor's program. So that's just a thought on that. Note that if we did that, this class and this class are in the same book and the same tier, but I'm not dependent on the classes in there. I think they can be taught in reverse order if we use the chapters that I'm currently laying out.